So we're going to start the meeting, and as is our practice, we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, no other additions or deletions. So we can move on to item F, annual sublateral maintenance bid. And I think that would be Mark.
Thank you. This is the scope of services which I'd like before the end of the evening to hopefully get approval to move forward with. In addition to this scope of services, we also have on your dice, which came in today, the scope of services to prepare the bid graphics that will go along with the written scope that's in the packet. And I'd also like to authorize the release of the bid, and then to also discuss and decide on the priority of services that we may do with this amount of money. So let's go over the item. We put in the budget $100,000 to juice up the efforts of getting the ditches back to where we all want them to be. In addition to that, we had two other line items for contractor services. One was $35 for tree care, and one was $25 for reestablishing the maintenance firm on Park Lateral. So in total, there's $160,000 available for prioritizing the contractor's efforts in this coming fiscal year. Actually, it's fiscal year we're in now. And the district graphics that will be going along with this written scope will be a sump detail. We'll be basically installing sumps on both sides of every pipe as we clean the ditch. And if a contractor does it, then we would charge them, they would charge us a per sump price. There'll also be a map reflecting the debris areas and stockpiles. There'll be a general sublateral maintenance guide. There'll be a bank stabilization detail, a bank restoration detail, and that's what the graphic estimate we have for you tonight for Hardin Associates. Actually, no, that is actually a bid for the, actually, that's for the bid description. So with regards to the bid itself, it will be a 45-day response period, hopefully to have it on the street in October, opening in mid-December, to have it available for the January board meeting to select a contractor, and notice to proceed by the end of January, so we have a solid 5 months of dry season to hopefully address some issues that are obviously simplified in the dry season to deal with. We would have a mandatory pre-bid meeting for anybody interested that comes to pre-bid, make sure they understand what we're asking. If they have any questions, they can also ask them as well. We also going to have a certification in the bid package they have to sign to the driven. Representative Sublateral will familiar with get you somebody else who's more competitive than mine. Hopefully I can get one competitive bid across the board, but if not, we'll have the option to choose. And then, hopefully this will be a 3-year contract, with the ability for escalation, if they include that in their bid. There'll also be emergency response, which generally will be a percentage increase to the base price. So if you're called out for a bank restoration, has a unit price of X, you're coming out here in the middle of the night, it's X plus, because you're coming out in the middle of the night. And again, with regards to the mowing, I'm hoping to start in late October, early November, which means it will be before the next board meeting. And so that is also attached to the package to the extension mowing. We did have another bid that came in that happened to be quite competitive to our existing mowing contract vendor. And just to spread the wealth and to try something new, my recommendation is to go with the new provider of building services. And it's only $400 more than your base bid, so it's pretty competitive. As far as priorities go, my recommendation would be to spend $160,000 on things that we can't do in-house. So finishing up the tree care is probably one of the big priorities, as well as bank stabilization. We're getting more and more near vertical banks, which are not very sustainable, and are prone to washouts, and also losing vehicles in the ditch. You get too close to a vertical bank, you just never know when it's going to fall in on you. That doesn't mean they won't also be doing ditch cleaning, which we do on a regular basis, but they'll be bringing machines we don't have access to, so we must particular areas of machines we don't have access to. So that would be my recommendation. And as they knock out some of these high priorities, we can do more ditch cleaning as well. I think over the course of this next year, we're getting back into the spray cycles and continuing our in-house cleaning. I think the aquatic vegetation will be well under control. And it's time to address some of the issues that are out there in the district. So again, the items I'm looking for is approval of the scope for the supported bid graphics, approval of the scope of work for this particular bid, priority of services if you have any, and then approving the mowing contract and authorize the release of the bid. In the packet, you'll have the mowing estimates. You'll also have an estimate of turbines to do the graphics, section of the package, and you have the scopes.
Are we allowed to comment or?
Well, first, did the board have any questions you want to ask Mark before we go to comments?
Yeah, Mark, I have a question about the area for the ditch bank mowing. How did you select the area for ditch bank mowing? It looks like ditch 1 through ditch 20 for the park review, and 1 through 24 for park battle.
Yes, we're focusing on the north area with this, primarily as it relates to the discussions with the landowners about the split and getting the ditches in a suitable condition. Prior to that, we do intend to put some services south of that area, but it would probably be more in-house with ditch cleaning and spraying if that's needed. If you think a mow is needed as well, I do believe there is money in the budget for a mow as well. So there's money in there. With this particular mow, this will be one part.
When do you think you might start in the other parts of the district?
Now,
For mowing?
that's a good question, because I think once I get the spray done for the north part, I'm going to turn my attention somewhat to the south part. I'm going to get the spray done, continue to focus on the worst ditches, get those under control up north, and then turn south. If you have a desire to win during the year, would work best for you, I can obviously work with you on that too, in terms of the farm and what they're making.
So, if you plan to do this every 6 months, we'll start in it with ditch bank mowing.
Ditch bank mowing, just proceed and spray.
Where did you start the last time?
I wasn't here the last time, so I don't know what it was. I'm not even sure if the south area got sprayed last time.
Johnson, could you please use the microphone? We can't hear what you're saying.
Actually, the last time we did not
Shut up.
Yeah, I don't even know what,
there we go.
I don't know what your question was. I don't know what your question was.
I was asking about the area, how did they select the area to start going, and where did they start going the last time?
Say it again?
I was asking how they selected the area to start dispatch going, and where did they start dispatch going the last time?
So should we break these down by parts for the approval, or do it all together? These various items.
Can I make a comment that may affect this greatly? Just, first I wanted to ask about loading fill from FWC stockpiles. Do you have stockpiles still? That was sold, wasn't it?
No, ma'am, we still have plenty of stockpile.
Is that the levy then, is still in your possession?
It's the levy in one of the locations.
Is that the C-54 levy?
Yes.
So how far down does that belong to you still? We were under the impression that it was
I
going
don't
to
think it's
Grace.
necessarily our portion or your portion, it's just a cubic yard total.
Do you know what that is?
I don't know the exact number, but it's around 100,000 cubic yards.
Okay, interesting. And then the next thing, you have spoil transport, and it says includes collecting spoil from mechanical removal of aquatic vegetation and disposing at licensed facility. I would recommend taking out that at licensed facility, simply because that's gonna save you a lot of money. A lot of the times when they pull the spoils out, they'll take it to their own property or their own, facility that will save you from having to pay dump fees in the thousands and thousands.
We can put a door on there, and the only issue is that, we need to make sure it's lawfully disposed of, that's all.
Yeah, it's not gonna get dumped in the middle of the town or something, but it's gonna be somewhere that's, but if we put in that it's a licensed
I
facility,
can just change it to lawfully disposed of.
that's fine.
We can't put that on our right of way also, right?
We tried it a while back, and the county gave us a code enforcement. It was before my time, but I saw the files.
That's good.
Thank you.
You also had here just one more question. You have a 5-to-1 slope. There's no way to restore a 5-to-1 slope on these without cutting into our streets, our roadways. I would not.
I wouldn't go into the street, I would go out into the ditch. The ditches have been overdug the last 100 years, so I would fix it going in, not going out.
That's gonna be a huge, huge expense, because a 5-to-1 slope, you're right now probably at a
It's not a 5-to-1, it's a .5.
half, 0.5. Okay. I didn't read it right. Thank you.
That's a pretty steep slope.
All right, that's fine. No problem. I was trying to figure out how you were gonna get there.
I have a question. The question that I have is regarding the sump pumps. The specs say that you're going to install a deep sump at the end of every driveway / road pipe that exists. I believe you just said it was only going to be at the end of the ditches, correct?
No, I meant to say each and every time.
Okay, so you need to correct it in your specs.
No, the specs say end of each pipe. That's what I'm
It says
proposing.
every driveway. It
Or
says
road.
every driveway / road pipe.
Yes, correct. That's what I need to do. Every pipe in our ditch that is either a driveway pipe or a road pipe will have sumps that go through this.
Isn't that going to be extremely expensive also?
No. Because if you clean the ditch, it takes you an extra 5 minutes to scoop it out on each side, 15 minutes maybe tops. You pile the dirt, and you pile the rest of the spoil.
When you say flushing the culverts, You just mean clean the culvert out. You're not talking about getting a jet sprayer or anything. You just mean however, whatever means they use to clean that culvert out, you okay?
Correct.
I have a question on the spraying. It says the aquatic vegetation within some layouts shall be sprayed twice a year, generally the months of December and January, or June and July. I would suggest that we rethink that, because I think that's excessive. And I'm concerned about the amount of chemical that has been removed from this kind of thing. I would think that we could get away with spraying once a year late in the dry season, and then the entire length of the ditches don't need to be sprayed. If there's annual weeds in there that are going to die on their own, there's no point in spending money and wasting chemical on those. If they're perennial weeds, or if they're aquatic weeds that are chronically a problem, that's different. But I think that could be done on a spot spray basis, rather than just putting this out there on the whole length of the whole district.
You have an opinion on that, Mark, on 2 versus 1 time a year?
I'm open to any ideas. I was going to only because historically that's what we've always done, talking to others in the business, that's what they do. In fact, some even do it 3 times a year. So I'm just going by industry practice and historic practice in our district. But we went the last year and a half without spraying. And with aggressive mechanical cleaning, we've been able to keep our ditches from getting terribly bad. And so one spray may or may not work. Again, without doing it in China, it's hard to say. 2 is more than practice from my standpoint.
I think we've gone from. So, I think we've gone from nothing in over a year for spraying, and might be a good idea to go to 1 per year and see where it puts us. We've probably been in a good year and a half since anything's been sprayed. So going with 1 and see where it puts us is probably the prudent thing to do, and save us money, but also for the environment. I think that's important. Talk about practices. I haven't seen anybody spray ours on 101st Street. I haven't seen anyone spray 101st Street. I can't remember it. I know we miss them sometimes, but it's at least a year and a half, I think, since it's been sprayed. The clearing, the mechanical clearing, and trimming of the branches, what they did on 101st, that section going into Park Lateral is flowing. It's unbelievable how well it is flowing. I'm kind of shocked that our new operators, when they're cleared out some of the brush, but it's flowing very, very well. And it's entering Park Lateral. It looks good entering Park Lateral. Maybe that's something we should think about, Mark, and just go with money, save some funds and allocate it somewhere else.
The sprayer broke about 3 years ago, so it's been about 3 years.
Would that still be 2 mows, or would that just be 1 mow?
No, I think you can keep the mow. I would keep the mows, 2 mows. Those banks get some heavy growth.
If we're only going to spray 1 time a year, are we going to spray everything, or are you still on just spot spray?
When an operator is driving their vehicle and there's no vegetation in the water, I doubt they're going to be spraying chemicals on water that doesn't hit a plant. You got to hit the plant to have any effect.
I'm
as I
sorry,
understand.
I guess I maybe take that back in. Are you at least going to travel along every day?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just comment, I appreciate your respect for the trying to cut costs and do it once a year. I can tell you in practice too, is a minimal on the farm. And the other
recommend with your knowledge from the farm for when would be, if we did 2, when would you do it?
Yeah, I was planning on 2, exactly as Mark had presented to me. That's consistent with how we've done.
She's asking about the time.
The time period.
Time frames are-
December, January, and then June, July.
However, from what I see, the ditches on the farm, they're wide open, they get sun all the time.
Exactly.
Ours do not, especially the ditches that are clean from the north side. They rarely get sun, it's all grown up on the south side. So we don't get the growth that, would warrant anywhere near 4. But I would even question the 2. Again, it might be prudent to just go with 1 and see where we're at. There are some ditches, we're going to go in the IMG area. Of course, there's ditches that are wide open to sunshine and they grow. But we look at some of the sub-laterals on our streets, before the vegetation was cut over the top, there was no growth under those trees. And Mark and I have driven some of them, and we've seen that. We thought, well, maybe we might be opening up another can of worms by clearing, but I've been watching it, and I still see that they're pretty shallow. If the ditch is north of the growth, if it's being cleaned from the south side, like on, I'll give an example, I think 95th Street, they get the sunshine, but again, it's something I think we're going to suggest we try it once a year.
Yeah, if you want to make that the way of a motion, I'll second it.
Okay, that's my suggestion in the motion.
Okay.
Once a year.
Second.
My concern is that we're way behind, way behind on spring. It's been over a year now. And that's just a concern.
There's 2 ways to deal with aquatic vegetation, chemical removal or spraying, or a combination of both. And there are some ditches that need some work, but we've addressed a lot of ditches in this last year. And I'm struggling to find red ditches on my map. If we wouldn't do 1 spray a year, I wouldn't do it in the winter. I would do it right when the summer's beginning, so you kill it before it has a chance to grow, and therefore it's not growing as much during the summer. By the time it starts to grow again, it's winter, and the winter's going to keep it down. So if we go to 1 spray a year, I don't think I would do it in December. I'd probably push it, which means it gives us another 6 months to mechanically clean those that are getting full, and there are some that are, and we'll address those. But if we go to 1, it wouldn't be a December spray. I think it'd be more effective in an early summer spray.
I just want to comment also that on the service side, pepper trees are really getting big, and the mower's not going to be able to mow. They go to 2-3 inches, and that's it. Some of these are 4 inches to 5 inches. They're big pepper trees, and I know we're not spraying these things, but I think.
No, you're correct. Some are growing too big, and that's why when we hire this contractor, tree care will be one of the priorities I will recommend to continue to address tree care.
Thank you.
Motion and second.
I have one question. Can you hear me? Oh, there we go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Last time we met, we talked about third-party assessment of the ditches. Where are we on that? Because a lot of us in here disagree with what you deem red versus green.
The request has been made. I'm just waiting for a call back, and I'll probably call them again this week, but I don't get the call back. So we'll keep calling them until they call me back, and maybe I'll show them their office if they don't. If that doesn't work out, we'll go to plan C.
Are you reaching out to Mr. Tillman?
Reaching out to the Indian River Farm Water Control District.
So we have a pending motion and second on the triangle spraying 1 time a year. So I'll call the motion, and all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. So what do we want to take next?
If you could we just do these in order, one at a time, just knock those out.
All right, so next we need a motion on the scope and cost to prepare the supportive bid graphics. Yeah, that's Culpepper Interpreting, that's the engineers on that, with details on the bank stabilization, bank restoration, general ditch maintenance, map of the district, and a standard detail development on the sumps at the end of the pipes. So we have any motion to it?
I have a question about, actually some detail, the debris areas and stockpiling and the maintenance guide. I'm wondering why we're paying Culpeper. Is that something we should be doing in-house? Our manager should be, taking care of?
I don't have a graphic program to draw those. This is AutoCAD work is what this is, along with a licensed engineer, only licensed. It's a second opinion per se on proper standards for these things. I've given him what I feel is a good start, and he's going to clean it up and put his 2 cents on it. But graphic is really the most important part because I don't have graphic tools in the office.
Question, Mr. Nelson?
Yes, go ahead.
I have 2 questions, actually. Did we look for any other bids on this, or did we just go to the one firm?
We're using our continuing engineers. You're not allowed to use bids when you hire engineers. You're supposed to use them on qualifications. So when you hire an engineer, it's not a price, it is a quality and scope that you're dealing with. So I'm not allowed to ask my 3 continuing engineers what's their best price. I put them in order, it's a sequence kind of thing that we do.
I don't understand what you put in the order of sequences. What does that mean?
So Mark, we approved 3 contractors to use for engineering. I think it was in our last meeting. And they gave us hourly rates for their work so that the bidding was based on their hourly rates. And that's some bidding, not anything you want to add.
Yes, and when I say pass it around, if I give one to this firm, I give the next one to the next, the next one to the next, unless there's a special reason why. If there's a modeling effort, I would go to Royal because they're the modeling firm. I would not give Royal Consulting details like this because that's not their bailiwick. So I have 2 engineers that do permit review, engineer support, and I have 1 engineer who does modeling support. So this is just the engineer I chose for this graphic because I had already given the job to the other one just a while back.
Okay, thank you, John. The only other question that I got on that was, do we need to be able to make a map of the district? No, we already have maps of the district.
It's not to create the map of the district, it's to annotate the map the way it needs to be annotated so it has value in the bid.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion with regard to the $7,020 bid for Dirk Leon's work.
Second?
That's a motion too. As a chair, I make a motion. I was asking for a motion, so you make a motion. Okay. So I'll second it. Do you have any comments on it, Steve?
I seriously have a problem with spending money, just when some of this can easily be done. A sump is not something that's major. As a matter of fact, the city had a plan for sumps. It's very simple. It's outlined, there's a graphic, it was just done. Our own guy could be doing the sumps. These are the types of things, where we stockpile. We need to have a graphic for where we stockpile. I can go out there and go find a spot and say, okay, this looks acceptable, this is our property, make sure it's our property, and we stockpile. We make it close to where we're working. I just don't understand why we're spending all this money, so that's my issue. And I know I've heard, you need a graph, you need this, but you know something? I'll get a graph. I'm tired of running around and trying to learn these things. I shouldn't be doing that. But if we need a graph, what we need is, maybe it's time that we just say, we're going to hire an engineer when we need stuff, and we don't need a manager. It's getting everything, it's just add money, add money, add money. Some of this stuff, a sump, it's pretty simple. Mark, you sent me on this months ago when I first came over. The New York ditch improvements. And you told me things about they didn't do certain things. Well, you sent me on, I went and got it from the city, and I found it, and I found the sumps. They have them at every single crossing. They're not at the end of your driveway, they're at the culverts that go underneath, if you want to understand what a sump is. They got the blueprints, they got the guides, they have them here. Mark, we spoke about this within the last week, about this sump thing. We're going to approve something, and this isn't complete. Am I approving it the way it is, or am I approving it and we're going to make some amendments to it? We talked about the sumps, and here it says they're 10 by 10 by 1. 10 feet wide. Some of those sumps at the bottom of the ditch are not 10 feet wide. I'm not an engineer, but I don't have a problem going grabbing blueprints of something that's been approved for the drainage system here, and you grab the plans and you say, oh, that's pretty standard. The sump has to be 1 foot deep, 15 foot long, and it's 75% of the bottom of the ditch. I mean, I could just tell somebody to do that and it would get done. I don't have to spend $1,175 to have a sump graph when there's one right here in the plan. This is the problem. This is the problem that the people are having. This is the problem that I'm having. The management of this district. It can't just be throwing money at bad. This is the problem. It's constant. We couldn't even, for a second time in less than a year, get it posted on the website and agenda. So everybody's calling and they're complaining about an agenda. We met. We talked that morning. We said you were going to post it. That morning, you said you were waiting on some stuff. And I accepted it. The next morning, the phone's blowing up and it's not on there. It's a management thing. We can't keep throwing money at the lack of management. And that's when I start having problems, when I start seeing things. It says sump, and then we talk about it in the bid. We're talking about the sump, and then we talk about it in the bid according to detail. Okay, what detail? What, am I going to vote on this now? I don't have the detail. You want 30-foot sumps? You want 40-foot sumps? Things just have to either slow down or we need to get up to speed on doing things properly. And I don't feel that constantly telling engineers that we need this, we need that, we need a graph of this. God, it's a hole in the ground. We're maintaining a hole in the ground. That's all it is. Pulling out the trees. It talks about cutting the trees down in here in this bid. It says within the 3 feet. And I'm thinking, okay, well, what does that mean? A minimum of 3 feet. There's got to be a stump, a minimum of 3 feet high. Well, okay, a minimum. Can you cut them to 6? Is 6 acceptable? These are the things, attention to detail. We get them late. You know, we don't have much time to review these things. And then I'm supposed to sit here and I'm supposed to vote on these things. It's just getting tiring. And that's why I cannot, the Culpeper thing, I can't, there's certain lines in it. There's others, yes, the mapping, I understand the mapping. But man, some, $1,115. The bank stabilization, bank restoration, I understand that. That's more technical. The map of the district, I get it. I mean, I just don't understand where all this money has to go out like this when we could be making these decisions. That's my feeling. And when you hear my answer on the vote, I just want myself down. Thank you, Steve. I have objections to certain things in the bid. There are certain things in the bid that I have objections with. I spoke with Mark about this, and he said they can be corrected. If that's the case, if we're voting on this bid with corrections to be made, I'm okay with it. But if I'm voting on this, and it's as read in black and white here, I'm not okay with this bid. But if we take into consideration what some of the people have brought up here, we can move forward. We definitely need to get a contractor. But there are just some things, some details that need to be taken care of, and that's the purpose of this meeting, is to address some of these details.
So, I agree, it stuck out to me as the sum, that shouldn't be that difficult to instruct the contractor bidder on that. So, Tim, you want to amend your motion and take out the line item on the sump on there? And I would just point out that I don't think this would just be a one-time. Once you have these prepared, then you can use them for the bidders for years to come. But you got to give them detail to be able to, you know, make sure each bidder is bidding on the same work. You have to have a graphic description of it.
So before I make the motion to amend the sum detail, Mark, you looked at what is being proposed, and is that acceptable?
You say, what are you referring to?
For the sum detail, have you reviewed that and said that it's acceptable?
Yeah, that was a project that I managed in the city, and that was some detail that the engineer we hired came up with, and it's a fine detail. The only thing I have on record is that state law doesn't allow you to copy and paste engineer's work. So that's why I had in the scope of work to prepare, because you're not allowed to copy and paste somebody else's work as an engineer. But again, I can prepare the graphic, it just won't be jazzy and professional looking, I don't have a graphics program, but I'll prepare a graphic, and I'll sign and seal it myself.
And this package will be used not just now, but like I said, for the foreseeable future, correct?
Yes, of course.
Now, I would amend the motion by removing the expense for the sum detail.
One more question. May I ask one more question?
Go ahead, Mark.
Would you be willing to, Mark, would you be willing to make a less jazzy map of the district and say we're only $100?
Yeah, I can do that. Yes, I can do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, can we amend the motion, second that?
So, okay, let's start over. Move to approve the Culpeper interpreting estimate, excluding the cost for the map and excluding some detail.
I'll second that. So, we have motions.
Can I say something?
Sure.
What I see on this, all these line items, the project manager should do most of these. No disrespect, but other than the engineering part, review scope of work, that's a project manager's job.
Not sure what you're looking at, sir.
Are you looking at Culpeper interpreting bid?
Yeah.
I did that for St. John's Water Management. I was a project manager for it. And 5 out of 6 of these I did myself, and I'm not a PE. I was
Yes,
a
sir.
project manager for the district.
Yes, I did prepare the scope and bid sheet, but I also have an opinion, it's always nice to have a second set of eyes.
Absolutely.
And that's what this is, a second set of eyes. You're not preparing the scope, you're not preparing the bid sheet, you're reviewing a second set of eyes.
That's expensive, second set of eyes. Thank you.
Okay, we reduced it at this point by $2,230. Got a motion and second. So, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
There is one more correction on your, when you guys were talking about this, I didn't read this until just then, but you're talking about stumps, the leftover stumps, and it says the removal must result in stumps no less than 3 inches in height, should be must result in stumps that are no more than 3 inches in height, am I correct? You don't want them any more than 3 inches out. So that just needs to be cleared up in the language.
Thank you, that was a good catch. Yeah, so now we're moved on to the scope of work.
Questions?
Yes.
I don't know how these things are normally handled, but is it normal practice to ask a contractor to bid on every individual tree and by size? I mean, that seems really cumbersome to me. I'm trying to figure out how somebody would even approach it.
It was pretty common practice in the city. I don't say I've done much bids outside the city, but, you know, a 30-inch tree costs a lot more to take down than a 3-inch tree, so it does make sense to have stratification. Whether you have stratification at this level or more gross level or fine level is a choice you can make. Yes, when you're not clearing, but instead removing trees, it is normal that you have a breakdown of the tree size.
In construction practice, when you're in general, in a large project this size, and I'm only speaking from my experience, okay? So when we send somebody to clear a lot, they get paid X amount of dollars. It doesn't matter if there's 20 trees on it or 2 trees on it, they get X amount of dollars. This is usually the way that these large projects are bid with. That's part of, like you said, they have to certify that they've traveled the entire district. So they know what there is. They know that those Australian pines are sitting over there on 107, and they got to get those up. And they also have all the berry bushes that they're referencing. That's part of in here. If you go piece by piece on tree removal, you are going to be nickel and dimed to death.
I have a clearing line item in the bid. Now, every tree that's removed is removed by the tree line item. It depends on the work you're doing on which line item you would choose from. If you're just taking out a tree standing in the center of a ditch, that's not clearing, it's removing a tree. You have to have a line item to pay them for. If it's clearing a bank of Australian pines or an overgrown end of the ditch, that's clearing. That would come up with a clearing line item.
I beg to differ. All I'm saying is that in again, not done a bid for a municipality, just saying in general, that normally it's a one and done. Linear foot, they've gone and they've looked at it, they've seen what they got to get out of here, they're going to say, oh, no way am I getting out of here at profit for less than $1.50 a linear foot, or no way am I getting out of here with a profit for less than $15 a foot. That's normally what they did.
And again, we have a line item for that.
Okay. I just didn't see that. I saw where you've got mowing, spraying, clearing,
Clearing is your line item.
different.
That's the one, clearing.
But clearing is different than clearing the ditches. Am I right? That's a different linear footage? No, you're just saying it's all in there. Everything's in there.
Clearing a mass of land, like you said, a lot of land, a very big tract of land,
Okay?
it's clearing.
But what I'm seeing in this phase, item, quantity, unit cost, cost extension, and emergency call clearing, you've got mechanical cleaning, sumps, overhanging limbs, mowing, spraying, tree removal, and then you specify each tree, less than 4 foot clear trunk, you're gonna have, however much, you're gonna have palms 4 to 8 feet, etc. Tree 4 to 8 foot radius, tree 14 to 20 foot caliper. That, or 20-inch caliper, 14 to 20-inch caliper. That's where you're gonna get nickel and dime to death.
Clearing in that line item too. You know, so clearing.
Below it, for furnishing equipment, personnel, and materials to provide complete job of clearing inaccessible subs. Go ahead. Maybe I'm not making myself clear, somebody else.
from my experience, you're asking for too much detail in the bid.
Yeah.
And you're gonna wind up, saying, oh, well, that was included, and they're gonna say, no, it wasn't, and that's where the nickel and dime is gonna come in, the change orders is what's gonna happen.
That's what I was getting.
The best thing to do is to have them give you a quote of what they see, and if they missed it, oh well, it's on them.
Yeah. That's what I was trying to say. He said it clear.
We're on the scope of work, not the actual line items bid, that comes right out of the scope of work. And then Steve mentioned he had some concerns on the scope, so this would be the time to bring them up.
Yeah, I think I understand the point made from the audience. Karen said, and I understand where you're coming from on the trees, and I can definitely, this is the first time I've heard, but I can definitely see her point where we could be nickel and dime
Yeah.
per tree. But I also understand that when you're dealing with the city, you need something like this because there's too many variables. For us, there isn't many variables if they go out and inspect the ditches. Here's our ditches, this is what we need to maintain. It's not like a whole city where a big, 100-year oak is going to pop up that has to be taken care of. They can look at them. So I guess on the detail, I can see we could be nickel and dime. I don't know how you resolve that except just take some of that detail out about the trees.
That's what I was suggesting, not itemizing tree, caliper, trunks, etc.
So how am I gonna pay for somebody to remove a 30-inch oak that's standing by itself, but a problem for the ditch?
They'll bid on it. That's what they're gonna bid on.
I'm sorry.
At
Clear.
the pre-bid meeting, you show them, hey, that oak's gotta come out. And
Okay,
everyone's
how
gonna
that
bid on
is
it.
the question. By clearing? So I give them what, 2 square feet? Because that's
Take
the
it out,
square
whatever
footage
you
of
got
the
to.
concrete.
Means and methods is on them.
So he's got each one outlined, and he's saying there's 40 columns.
What we've done with the district is, we have our pre-bid meetings, and we've showed them what we wanted. And that's what's gonna have to happen here. You're gonna have to show, yes, we got a big oak tree here, we got a bunch of Australians over here. That's gonna be in your bid. And say you have 3 or 4 contractors bid on it, obviously the lowest bid if he's, can do the job. But it's gonna be a nightmare for you and the contractor to itemize all this.
He's not itemizing the trees, and he's being paid by clearing. He's being paid the clearing thing and nothing else. No trees are being itemized when I'm clearing.
Okay.
Trees is only for individual trees by themselves that you can't add an acreage to because there's no acreage to clear. It's just a single tree. And there are many single trees that are problems in our district that are unrelated to clearing. It may never get used because it may not be the highest
Or
priority.
maybe that's something a contractor shouldn't do. That should be done in-house if it's that minimal.
We don't have a dump truck, we don't have a reach truck.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been here about since '65, and the city of Clean Park Idaho, pretty good job through there. Has anybody addressed the canal east of 507 to the weir? Anybody looked at that at all? That's been a hard place to clean, and there's a lot of shrubs and stuff in there, and that's probably why our water's being held back as it is now. The ditches are full. Has anybody addressed from east of 507?
I have not seen it in the files that it was addressed prior to me arriving, and we have not talked about it since I've been here.
That's the old Fellsmere, the old Fellsmere Canal. It's all the way to the river. That is getting part of our problem.
I will say I checked Park Lateral today and I saw it and it was flowing.
saw that down there. That was, surprisingly, that was flowing. There was a lot of hyacinth. Mark and I had been out 2 weeks ago, I think, Mark, we went outside. A lot of that hyacinth was gone. It went over the year.
Yeah.
This keeps up my back. So that a lot of that hyacinth looked like it went over the weir. There's still a lot in there. I'm not saying we can't, I'm not going to spray, but to answer your question,
Yeah, you look at it, when I look at it, it's clear from Park Lateral, it's pretty clear all the way to Main Canal and flowing good, and then all the way from Main Canal all the way to the weir. It's good because the water's just raised up quite a bit. Park Lateral is probably at least 5 times higher than it normally is, but by about a foot or so of water. It's probably 8 feet deep, by now, which is fine, it's flowing. Anything west of that is, the water rose up and all that hyacinth is lifted and broke loose and gone, and that's why it's flowing good, which is fine. But anything west of Park Lateral, the Main Canal, is solid hyacinth all the way up to Lateral U. It's just solid. It's just, so that canal is not flowing nearly as much as Park Lateral is. It's not going to allow it to go through. Park Lateral is flowing a lot more water than Lateral U is.
so as a point, this should be known. What's happening from the water tree? Things are happening.
It's getting better.
You can spray it.
We got ways to go.
You can area spray it.
Things are getting better.
Things are going better. I see the flow. I'm not sure, I was a little bit late if you guys addressed this or not, but what's happening with the undersized culverts? Because I noticed a big difference on 103rd where there is an undersized culvert, which is back things up, as far as flow is concerned. I believe you guys were planning on asking people to do something about that. Is that something that's happening?
We're going to do a concerted effort this winter when the water level's a little lower. We get in there and better see the culverts and their condition. We're obviously addressing those that we know today. There are a couple of demand letters on the street right now for people to fix their failing culverts. There's a few more that will be going out. But the meat of my effort will happen over the dry season where I'll be looking at them for condition, how much dirt is in them, whether they're properly sized, and whether they're set at the right elevation. If they're improperly sized or set at the wrong elevation, I don't believe we can put that on the burden of the owner if it's a permanent pipe, which I assume most of them are permanent, hopefully all of them. And the last workshop meeting, we discussed whose responsibility it is with the dirt in the pipe, and we really get clear direction that we're leaning towards it becoming our problem, meaning the district's problem. And so getting a quantification of how bad that is going to be important, because I will deal with that just like I dealt with the system when I first came on, is to address the worst of the worst. So I need to figure out what the worst of the worst is, so I can address those first. So we'll be doing real heavy work this week.
Or
When they do lateral U and the rest of them, how did they did the bidding for that, like your canals? Was there had to be trees in the canal that needed removal? There was trees up on the bank that needed removal. I don't remember any of this showing up on those bids. There was one bid, it's clean.
Yes, and again, I'm not an expert on that bid because it was done before I got here. But yes, that was a simpler project to spec. What we're trying to do here is, well, with this package, what I tried to do was cover everything that could possibly be needed so that I had resources available if it's needed. Some of these items we never get used. I may never never need to use the tree removal because everything may fall under clearing. But I know there are individual trees out there, so I'd be a fool not to get prices for it because then I have to go back and do it all over again when I finally want to take that tree out. So some of the stuff is just there because it may be needed, not because it's a high priority. I'm just trying to get some information out there. Again, I don't know specifically how it's been the main canal or the park.
Came out of clearing, and Gary says, inaccessible, something out of it. What about the ones that are accessible but have big trees growing on the bank side of the road, not on the opposite side?
That's an inaccessible solar.
No, like say 109. You were down that road, checking in with Mr. Kurtz. There's a huge oak tree or whatever on the top of the bank, right next to the road. They actually have trucks going out around the outside of it, because it's hanging too long. Plus, there's all the Australian pines that are right there that are digging way over,
Yes.
that are ready to fall out. I mean, we already had two power lines because of it. I mean, are those trees going to be taken out, the Australian pines?
Yes. Not all the way up the bank, but at least out of the ditch.
Well, then, okay.
Get back to the, I'm sorry, if we could get back to the tree clearing and the tree removal, my recommendation, and I do understand why you want line items for all of this, but my recommendation would be that you need to have an inventory in-house of how much you expect this to come up to. I mean, at least as far as how many trees you have that fall into each category. Because if they're bidding on 10 trees, but you think there are 15 or 20, you're going to have a problem down the road. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Mark, do you think it would be reasonable if we just focus on each ditch on the clearing? And if there are any trees that the contractor just can't or will not remove, then come back and address that at a later time?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I have no problem with that. Again, this trees was just to give you a price. I doubt the trees will fall into the high priority category because they're just isolated trees that we usually can work around. And if there happens to be one in the ditch that can't fall under a clearing category, we'll deal with it. We'll figure out that. As far as the comment about the inaccessible sublaterals, we can soften that language to make it more applicable for any clearing activity. In case some people argue it's not inaccessible.
Okay, are we ready to make a motion on going forward with this?
As amended.
Yes, as amended earlier, but we're basically putting together the maintenance bid sheet and moving from doing less in-house and more on a bid basis with outside contractors. So this is establishing what the bidding would look like.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to move forward on it, taking it into consideration some of the items that were dropped on the floor that can be tightened up, i.e. some of the things about the trees, 3 inches, so on and so forth, the sumps.
I think it was Tim's direction or request to remove trees entirely from the bid. We just deal with that.
You want to second that?
I'll second that.
Okay, so now we have a motion and a second. Go forward with this as proposed on the maintenance bid. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Yeah, so we'll need to address now the mowing contract. A Quality Bush Hog Services, so we have two, three, yeah, well,
Mark, your feelings on either one of those contractors?
I think I mentioned earlier that I'm recommending Bentley just because the price is only $33 higher and their new vendor did a try, it's got to work. They're also closer, I think the last one's all the way, honestly, Hatchie, at least according to the proposal.
I'll make a motion and that we accept that contract.
Second.
all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes with Finley, Keith Finley Services. Okay, that's it on the, so next item G, which is the district split, as we discussed at the last meeting. It is the request of, request of Fellsmere joint venture to split the district, such that, the 11,000 acres, that we call generally the east acres would continue in Fellsmere Water Control District, and the 18,000 acres of Fellsmere joint venture would be contracted out of the district, to basically function as a separate district. There would need to be likely would be a agreement as to park lateral and U-canal and main canal maintenance. Could be a shared maintenance responsibility on that. My thoughts on that is probably better to have Fellsmere joint venture assume the responsibility for the maintenance of the U-canal and have Fellsmere Water Control District do the maintenance on the Park Lateral Canal. And with regard to the main canal, it would be basically split in half between from U-canal to the, well, I think it's about 5,000 feet, and then the second 5,000 feet, if I'm remembering correctly, then that would be done by Fellsmere Water Control District in the main canal to the bridge.
That would also then leave the part from the bridge to the weir, it would also be the responsibility of.
Well, my experience is once that water goes under the bridge, 507, it's going to go to Sebastian River. It's just simple gravity. It's a pretty good fall through there. And, frankly, when we had the 14 inches of rain on November 15th of 23, it kind of jetted out a lot of that just because the water was moving that fast in that event.
Ray, could you repeat that again? What was the segment of the U-canal from north to south and the shared maintenance? What is the segment of the Park Lateral Canal that would be shared maintenance?
So it would be, what I'm trying to describe it here, but basically it would be from U-canal, it's a little small, but basically the going east, and I guess it would need, I'm trying to describe what half would be, but it would be, sorry, I had measurements when I was looking at that, but it would go, to the bridge, and then Fellsmere Water Control District would do the remainder to the bridge, basically splitting that.
Talking about the U canal now,
From the U Canal,
To the
as a
rear.
starting point for the main canal,
right?
and then going half, doing essentially half of the main canal.
I got you. That would be your responsibility. The next half would be FWCD.
Yes, that's the concept. I mean, we'd have to work out a memorandum of understanding. So those details would have to be written out.
I have a question. How many people here are for the district split, just for the record? I don't see anybody for, so I just wanted to clarify.
One.
Okay. You got it.
I'm for it under conditions that the infrastructure is brought up to speed the way it should be before it's split.
Thank you for your vote.
So that's the general parameters of it. And Fellsmere Joint Venture is willing to incur the legal costs of the bill, including survey work for legal descriptions and such to put together.
Including legal fees?
Legal fees and the legal
Legislative
description, the
fees.
surveyors, would
Legal
Describe.
fees, legislative fees, all of that would be Headwaters, FJB?
yeah, paid by Fellsmere Joint Venture, reimburse the district for those expenses related to
In
legal
writing.
fees and yes. Yes, so that's,
If it's unsuccessful, you think? And if it's unsuccessful, who pays?
we still pay. Fellsmere Joint Venture still
Including
pays,
lobbyists.
reimburses.
Anything that you're doing, all of that is all going to come out of your pocket.
Well, it's an action of the district to do it, I'm just saying reimburse the district for the full cost related to the fees on the split, legal fees and legal descriptions and surveying.
We had discussed you paying for a legal representation for FWCD to review it, other than Seth, on behalf of us at our meeting. Would that be something you're still amenable to?
Yeah, that kind of opens up a can of worms, because I mean, that's an unknown cost, what that could be. 'Cause
You can put a cap on it. You can put a cap on it, but I can tell you there isn't a single person in here that's not going to scream bloody murder saying you're going to take us, because nobody here has legal background. Nobody here knows how to write something up that says FJB is going to reimburse FWCD for every penny that they put out for this split. We need something that is somebody that is going to look at it and say, yep, it's good.
So conceptually, you're saying, so the district council writes up the bill, and you want to have a third-party attorney review that legislation.
And that is correct. And if that third-party attorney reviews the legislation, they also review any interlocal agreements, such as what you're putting together in your interlocal, as well as any the contracts between FJB and paying for every penny for the split. Those things, that needs to be reviewed by a third-party attorney.
I'd be agreeable to reimbursing like $5,000, because, I mean, I can't see reading those could be more than, 20 hours of work, looking at those agreements. And
Sir, would you agree to that? Would you think it's only, just, you would be the best one to tell us what costs may or may not be to review what you put together?
And for review and comment, I think that quota of 20 hours sounds like the right amount of time that would be dedicated to that.
Okay?
$5,000, not going to go very far. I can promise you that.
No, it's not. I'll take it.
I brought this up at the last meeting, and it might be directed to Seth. Do you
do you classify it as personal gain?
Well, you saw one hand raised in this room that wants this. You guys are the one that wants it.
Yeah. Well,
It just seems to me like it's a personal gain fee for FJB, not for the district. But the district's going to fund it on the promise that they're going to be refunded back, which is misappropriated funds.
No.
Am I wrong? Am I misappropriating that section?
Attorney?
I just put it out there, you know, you can clarify it.
I don't really, no, I totally disagree that there's any misappropriation of funds. I mean, districts split all the time, and there's reasons, you know, for them to split. There's no gain to us. I think the issue here, to just be frank about it, is you know that we've been subsidizing you forever, and you feel entitled to the subsidy.
You just admitted it as a gain.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no, look, just to be clear,
I'm sorry.
there's nothing to laugh about, because the fact is, I'm not going to continue, the farm is not going to continue, Fellsmere Joint Venture is not going to continue to subsidize you going forward, okay? That's going to stop.
We have that argument too.
What's that?
We're subsidizing too for not getting nothing. We're on the same page here. We wouldn't be in here if we were getting the maintenance that we thought we deserved, or any.
That's right, so you should be in control for that, so you can determine what level of service you're willing to pay for yourselves. That's a pretty simple concept.
You don't get services, no matter how much we
So you
pay.
should be happy that you'd be in control, and then you can get the level of service that you want.
It needs to be brought up to standard before we even get it, because you gotta be able to take the money and run, get the gold mine, and get the shaft.
We're not taking any money and running.
You spend all this money, you know, Mark Mathis, you spend money here, you spend money there, you don't spend money on maintenance. You spend money on everything else. You're like a bunch of kids in a candy store. You wanna do this, you wanna do that, you don't stick to the budget. You're responsible. You are.
The money primarily goes for maintenance. You just want, you know, a higher level of maintenance than what you're willing to pay for. That's the bottom line.
Well, for $11,
We paid for many years, never got that.
You still ain't getting that.
we want what you get for $11.
All y'all done is all that will be.
We get nothing from the district, period.
You get something, get your ditches cleaned for $11 an acre. We want
Ma'am,
to pay 38.
that's
We
because
don't get
Mr.
anything.
Dooley cleans the ditches with equipment from the farm. There's no, see, this is this falsehood.
How many years ago did the town own everything that was used out there?
Did the town?
Yeah, the town, this town. That water management out there has always been done by San but the equipment was owned by the town. They took it to the farm and used it there, and very rarely did they bring it back into town and use it in the town. And I've been here a lot longer than you've been around, buddy. And way longer.
You have, because I've been around for 20 years. And
I've been here 47 years.
All
And
right.
I was here when that was down the street by the man, and the drag line is still setting up on black property.
Last time Paul Level was clean property, was Earl Wall clean, he parked the pretty right now, I'm still sitting in there. And y'all, all y'all, was made in the trash now too. All y'all, Port Level was made in the trash now.
We just flooded again last night. For what? Couple of little rain? You're doing so much.
All y'all there grinding the damn ditches and plugging them up. I'm not finished, man, you're grinding and plugging them up.
I can just tell you that we have not gotten services out on the farm from the Fellsmere Water Control District as long as anybody with a working memory can remember. It's been
They done a better job out here with 3 freaking people than they do with y'all the whole council and everything.
I'm sorry you're upset, but I can't speak to things from more than 20 years ago.
No, you can't speak to things that happened last night. I had to walk in knee boots to my damn car to get up here. Why? Because y'all not draining nothing. You say you cleaning something, you ain't cleaning nothing. I went out here where the guys mowing that. You know how much of the stuff was in the ditch that he's mowing? You know how much that car came from the cover cleaned up?
Mowing ditches,
You know how it looks like beaver dams now. That was moved 2 weeks ago.
Well,
And I want to know who took somebody out and mowed the wrong damn ditch. And then got in trouble because they mowed the wrong ditch. And he was city
idea. You got
It
your
don't take a
ideas.
rocket science to bring the damn ditch. I've been many, many ditches, and I ain't no freaking rocket science. And you don't start in the middle of the goddamn ditch, clean it anyway, you start on the end.
So you'll be able to direct that going forward.
The part that was worse than that was before y'all ever freaking started.
Okay.
And y'all paid the man to do nothing, but y'all went ahead and paid him.
Any other comments before we go to a vote? Grant?
Yes. Are you guys, I mean, you already started, lobbying with the firm, with Chris, prior to you guys voting last meeting to go ahead and start this. And so the process is already going with that. And, my thing is, are you going to go into an agreement with LLW with this contract, the 7-day contract of $50,000?
Yes, the district would go into the contract and Fellsmere Joint Venture will put a letter in writing that they'll reimburse what those legal fees are, 100%,
Well, that's,
plus $6,000 for a review by outside counsel to review that legislation and interlocal agreement.
okay. So, we're paying taxes, and most of us in here, like 99.9%, probably don't want to split. And you've already went outside with no vote to start this process. Didn't have a vote with the board till last board meeting. Back in May, you started the process. You had meetings with Rob and Brackett, with Chris Lyons.
So we actually voted at the last
You did the
board
last
meeting.
meeting, but prior to that, you already
Yeah.
did that, there was no vote with anything.
And I'd like to address that, because this was, we raised this last time, and as I indicated at that time, when we first began representing the district, the representatives reached out to Chris because of the ethics complaints, calls they were getting from Fellsmere, et cetera, and they'd heard that we represented them. Those conversations had nothing to do with the split of the district, and to your point, that hadn't crossed this board yet, and that work hadn't begun. When Chris reported that time, he was reporting that time as district representative being contacted by your representatives, asking, saying, the community's concerned, we're getting a lot of calls, and we'd like to, what's going on? And our response at the time was, well, we've just been hired. We are on the job and we'll start looking at this. What has obviously evolved from that was the fact that there's a lot of, distrust with the board, desire to be self-governed, et cetera, and that's where, this split has evolved from those conversations. But it's incorrect to say that we were lobbying for the split prior to that occurring, because there were conversations, those conversations were about, we're getting, a lot of calls from Fellsmere residents, what's going on? So the first response was, we can start with the district and we'll let you know.
Bob Brackett told me himself that he had meetings set up for the 26th or so of May, and I met with him about 3 weeks prior to that. And he said he was the lobbyist. Chris Lyons, like a meeting that he called me and said, don't make any decisions until I talk to you. That's lobbying. That's lobbying. My point is, Greg Nelson, you want to split. My point is, if you're going to use, you're trying to use the district's firm and money to present it because you're the owner of Fellsmere Funds.
You or myself and 25
you don't have any interest here in this district whatsoever, except the fact that you work for him, and now you want to go strip of land inside of Fellsmere just so you can get on board, which is legal. It happens. My thing is, if you're gonna use district money to hire a lobbyist, to lobby for the representatives, the Representative Brackett and Senator Raw, then you need to present us with a lobbyist for the same. Because you need to make it fair. You need to make it equal. If you're using taxpayer money, you want to do it on your own, go pay for it on your own.
You can go talk to Senator Grawl and Representative Brackett, just
Right.
like I can. So
Right.
you
Well,
can do that.
I know I can, and I have talked to them.
Right. So
I
that's
don't have
the
a
lobby.
lobbyist, though. I don't have a lobbyist. I can't.
You don't need a lobbyist when you're representing yourself. You only need to have a registered lobbyist when
We
you're
do
getting
have a
paid
lobbyist.
money to do that.
You do have a lobbyist.
Whatever happened.
I'm just saying, if you didn't have a lobbyist, you hired a lobbyist. You hired Chris Lyons, the lobbyist, that's what he's doing.
We have a law firm
Yeah.
that has an office in Tallahassee, so they can talk to
So you're
legislators.
denying, and you have to give us the same amount of equal representation on this, obviously, this firm stuff than you have in your landowner. You're using the district for your personal gain versus our personal gain.
You can represent yourself.
I know.
So can you.
So can you.
So can you.
I mean, I have to be, they're just representing the district in this regard, and that's why they have
No,
to be.
they're representing you.
Representing yourself is a district. The rest, you're counting, you think that you own the district. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Well,
You don't own the district. You're a board member, you're a big landowner of the district, but you don't own the district. You have fiduciary duties as a board member. To not just represent one side, you have to represent both sides. And the other side, the taxpayers that are here, and most of them out there that I talk to, don't want the split, and they're all $50,000, and that's not half.
but they're not gonna pay that.
We're paying about-
The farm is reimbursing the district for that $50,000.
Well, just pay for it then.
What's that?
Just pay for it.
Pay for
Don't
it
worry about
yourself.
it.
You take
You
a
don't
vote.
have to repay it no more.
We're just following the statute. We're following chapter 298, okay? You take a vote of the board,
Yeah.
and the board gives
Make a
direction.
landowner and you that work for the board.
That's why it should be a conflict of interest if you're a landowner, can't be allowed to vote for anything.
Well, if you can't,
Years ago, that's how the government was run, conflict of interest.
everybody in this room is a landowner, so then no one can vote. I mean,
And we don't get to vote.
How about the statute?
As a landowner, I don't own that property out there that's saying, I want to build it. You sat on the board that's saying, I want to build it. And that is a conflict of interest in anybody's right.
No, sorry, but the statute provides that you take a
Yeah,
vote
that's
of
the
the board.
law. It's been turned over and over and over for years.
That's all I can do is
That's
follow.
all, you
That's all I
guys
can
are
do.
the one that made the law.
They didn't make the law.
All right, do we want to get into the terms here, line by line, on bullet items, or just some things to be cleared up for me, on your,
Okay.
I just had some questions. This is just unclear to me. On the cost share, that's pretty understandable, the property disposition again. I would say the biggest thing that I'd like to see if the split were to happen would be, we would be no longer be called FWCD. And I say that because then we could, as a group, and if they agree to the split, would be to get away from the Florida retirement system, because that's a big expense that I think they're locked into.
You don't have to change the name. You guys will be in charge of the Fellsmere Water Control District, and you can set your policies on how you, the terms for employment.
You cannot get rid of the FRS. I'm just seeing cutting expenses, because FRS for a manager, 34%. I'm currently doing this research, but you can't get out of FRS once you're in. So you would have to change names to the district. If you so, or go to legislature, it's only been known.
Well, we can check on that, but I don't agree with that conclusion. We'll certainly check on it.
I agree, only one, I'm fresh with it right now, but I'm anyway, that's just one thing, but the other thing is some words where you're saying are allocated. It doesn't specify, you know, who's responsible for the funding of it, or the administrator will be allocated. Let's see, turn it back on. Yeah, I was reading, the operational transition, temporary labor as operators to be allocated at FWC. What does that mean? Does that mean it's going to be funded, or you guys are going to hire for FWCD? Same thing with the administrator to be allocated to the West District. I'm assuming that's Mr. Mathis will be allocated to your district. Is that what that means?
It's going to be up to you as a board.
Well, it doesn't say who does the allocating. It just says it's allocated to be allocated. I don't know whose responsibility that is, financially or for the decision. I just was reading that like it's open-ended. That's all. And there's just some things that seem vague.
So this would take effect in basically October 1 of 26, right? Because that's the legislature won't have the bill out, and it has to have an effective date.
I understand all that. I'm just curious about what the definition of allocated means. I mean, it doesn't say who's allocating or who's funding or anything like that. You know what I mean? Operational transition, temporary labor as operator to be allocated to WCD by who? Administrator to be allocated to the New West District by who? That's all I was asking.
What that's trying to say, in apparently a poor way, is that temporary labor, the contract with tradesmen, becomes a contract with FWCD. My employment would cease with FWCD, and if the new district wanted to hire me, they would hire me there. So, it has nothing to do with cost.
We know your employment.
Once the split is done, the new districts will pay for their own costs. So, if you don't want the temporary labor anymore, you just cancel the contract.
Well, I understand.
It's in and out.
I understand that. I just, it just wasn't clear in the writing and so forth. So,
Here's one more thing on the property disposition. You just told us that we have all of that dirt sitting out there. That obviously would go to FWCD, am I correct? Well,
That's a
100,000.
new issue that hasn't been discussed in this conversation yet, so it's something to be resolved. There are probably over 100,000 cubic yards that need to be discussed, and who it belongs to.
That would be property disposition that would go to FWCD because of the boundaries that you're putting up. That would be an FWCD boundary. So that should go to
Actually, I think it sits on St. John's lands outside the boundary, but that's irrelevant. We can continue this conversation, but none of this stuff is to be approved tonight. The only thing we're doing tonight is the conversation with the contract with the attorney and moving forward the legislation. So all these details
100,000.
continue to be worked
Okay,
out.
so as you know, one of the main concerns that we had when we talked to you is that we're getting left with the bag and no money to be able to continue forward, okay? We understand your stance that you are subsidizing, et cetera. Our stance is that we've got subpar maintenance and now we're being left with the bag while you guys go away. So that 100,000 cubic yards is worth a whole lot of money that could go a long way to helping this new district get on their feet and continue. So I think that would be definitely something that FWCD should retain.
Mark, is there a contract with St. John's in regard to that?
Yes.
So, yeah, that contract would control.
What is the contract and what does it state?
Contracts with FWCD, so it's not amended, it would automatically stay with the FWCD district.
And how does that contract work? How does that, I've never seen the contract. I thought Ray Luke had purchased the entire berm. So what is the contract terms? Do you know?
I won't be able to give them to you offhand right here, but I can dig up the document and make it available.
That'd be great.
What about the building district office?
That's going to FWCD.
Let's stay with FWCD.
Good to know.
reserves? Excuse me? Any reserves? Where's that going? I think we've got our budget there, and it's really just gonna be, it's hard to, when you talk about reserves, it's just a matter of what is spent between now and November.
And what's left over in
October
November
1st.
stays with FWCD?
Yes, yeah.
You're not taking a line out of reserves to
No,
go?
we're not taking anything out of there.
So it sounds like it's cost sharing, as we discussed regarding you and Park Lateral and Maine, and then the cash reserves stay with FWCD, property disposition, the office, the machine, rights of way, and the dirt stay with FWCD. Public records are split in that we get a copy, you get a copy. You want the original to be going to your nonprofit museum. I don't see a problem with that. Maybe somebody else does. Operational.
And they end up at the library, they have a historical place in the library, so it's just, either way, just preserve the documents.
Okay, so you're gonna leave the lease for the machine, you're gonna have the temporary labor, any contracts that are entered into with the private subcontractor. Administrator is going with you, which is Mark Mathis, and each district is responsible for amendment, creation of their own budget. Permit approval on the shared facilities, lateral U, we're talking about that. We would have to get that in writing and then have our impartial counsel look at that. St. John's Water Management District State Park would have to still be with FWCD because they lie within the FWCD boundaries. And the water control plan, that would be up to FWCD to resolve as soon as the split happened, which would be Josh. And then approve the proposal for legal representation, and you're gonna reimburse for all that. That's where we are with this now. Am I right?
That's a pretty good summary, yeah.
Anybody got any questions on it?
I have a question. I wasn't here for the other meetings, but I was wondering, have you done a study or a cost analysis on the splitting two districts, the overall operation cost for the same acres that would be in FWCD's, the new district?
Just over. Yes, sir.
So how is that going to affect, I'm just wondering here, what is the advantage is this better for everybody? Is it, when you make a move in business, you're doing it to make things better. So is this make it better for both pieces of property? I don't understand. I haven't heard anything about anybody talk about how this is better for it. I understand the farm thing. I get it, and I'm not. That's a farm. I'm assuming you guys clean your own ditches out there.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
You clean your own ditches on your own farm, right? Yeah, that's your cost.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a farm operation cost, but you're paying the district. And I see it from, I grow a farm, so I see it as a cost to you that's not necessary. But I'm concerned how this split is better for both parties, because this district has been in existence for such a long time. And then, like we split, we got two small parcels, that's its own entity. Is this business gonna suffer and the other business is going to do better, or is it going to become, is it better for both parties? And that's what I'm wondering if you guys had that and presented it to us, that I may have missed, how it's better for both the split business. I'm looking at it as like a business.
Well, the responsibility for the management of the district would fall to the landowners of the Fellsmere Water Control District. You get to determine whether you want to have a district manager or whether you just want to contract with somebody. There are companies that do that as a service. Honestly, it is lower expense if you use that service because they do that for a dozen different districts so they can spread that cost to bookkeeping and all those out. So it's really basically this is called democracy, and it's the principle our government is based on, and that self-governance. I mean, that's why we have the Declaration of Independence, so you can decide how you want to run your district. That's it. Obviously, you're not happy with the current management of the district, so you'd be able to do it as you see fit.
Well, I'm just looking at it from, I'm just curious about numbers that are in business, like, we're gonna have less acres to manage. Have you done any cost analysis of, it's gonna cost us less per acres to operate, it's gonna cost us, currently, the way we're doing things right now, not like what we want, or the way it's happening. Is it gonna cost less per acre to downsize the district on this side? I know it's less ditches to manage and stuff, but I'm looking at it as a whole.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
No, sir.
We'll have the same amount of ditches.
Well, he's got a bunch of ditches on his farm. There's a lot of acres to drain.
He's never, ever used FWCD in the last 20 years.
And that's not necessarily true. He's been trying to do service on the south area for a while now, and the district is not providing it to him. So yes, it is a reduction in the amount of ditches the district has to maintain. And yes, we have put together example budgets in a variety of assumptions, contract staff, part-time staff, different amounts of sprays, different amounts of this and that. So we put a number of budgets together, and I'm feeling confident that your new district, if it was successful, would be able to do this for us to $50 an acre. Right now, you're just over 40 an acre, or actually just under 40 with the recent budget. So it would probably be a little more expensive, but the other thing that's going to play it.
So why are you so quick to leave the DMR?
Steve, did you have something to say? I saw you pick up your, I'd like you to chime in here, please.
Please. Yeah, there's an awful lot with the split. I will tell you that I am, from a management standpoint, 100% behind the split.
Thank
From
you.
a fiscal standpoint, I'm not on board with that yet. And some of my concerns are how you do shares, how we're going to share things. Because we're still going to be married. That means I heard somebody say, it's a divorce and we share the kids, the canals. So there are some fine details. I have the benefit of hearing from all of you, and believe me, when I say, I get the phone calls, I'm not griping about it because I get a lot of input. Again, I am 100% to split because we serve two different missions, completely different. We're over to the farm, I saw what they do over there. They have something else. Mark and I have been going since I got on this board, banging heads about getting south of 77th Street. They want a machine down there cleaning out the ditches. Guess what? At 7,600 acres, they pay the same as us. That's FJB's property. I don't have much of an argument, okay? But again, it's a fiscal thing. Am I ready to release all that? Even with these boundaries, I have some questions. I can't call these guys and ask them questions. So I can't even go to the meetings when you have meetings together. But there still are a lot of details. I've kicked this around with Mark. This doesn't work. People yelling, screaming about history, about things going on in the past. Guess what? That's the past. We need to move forward. But that's what scares me, is moving forward, this money thing. Sharing those canals. If there's a blowout in the canal, it's not like a ditch and you bring in 3 dump truck loads and fix it. And I've got a serious concern how that's going to be addressed. I've heard some things today, again, for the first time from these guys. I'm not negotiating with anybody. Spoke with Mark about this. My feelings are that committees should be appointed, representatives of a group, not just taxpayers, but an official committee to look into this that works for the Fellsmere Water Control District. We appoint a committee. We come up with some way to negotiate some of these things. I believe what we're doing here today is we're just seeing if we want to go forward. None of these are written in stone, because if they were, they're unacceptable to me. Like even the boundaries. I have questions about the boundaries. Like, why don't we continue all the way to the west on 77th Street? I don't understand that. I mean, I'm sure there's probably an answer, but maybe a committee can do that. We can debate this on and on and on. But I see future development. That's going to be one of the first areas where there's going to be future development. Guess what? It's going to be assessed not per acre, but per residence. And if they put 5 residents per acre, I'm just throwing numbers out there. That's cha-ching, right? That we wouldn't be getting if we lose it. But those are things that have to be looked into, and how much that would cost. The split. I think what we need to do is ask one question, and I'll ask this of Greg. With or without us, are you going to go forward and get legislation to split the districts? With or without us, whatever we do here today?
The short and simple answer is yes. I made a decision that it's not in our best interest. It's not in our best interest to sit here and have people file ethics violations and make allegations of misappropriation of funds. There's no evidence to support it, but that goes around. Honestly, you just get to the point where you're tired of hearing these things that are not factually true. So we need to separate it. It is probably a divorce. What you said is probably a good analysis, and that is we're just not compatible.
And I truly do believe that at this point we've reached a point where we're truly not compatible. But I have heard it for the first time from his mouth. They're going to move forward without us.
Yeah.
So we're sitting here, things have changed. That changes some things for me. We better start getting together and start figuring this out. There are some serious concerns I can bring up. The canals. I told Mark, my whole concern is the money. I'm also dealing with somebody who's already wearing the jersey from another team 1 year from now on October 26th.
It's a done deal. It's really a done deal, so it's done. There's no sense arguing about it, they're going forward. Now, whether or not the legislation goes through, I would say that it's going to, because they would not be going forward if they didn't have some assurances from the legislatures that this was going to go forward for them. So at this point, it's going forward, you guys, and that's what I was trying to say from the get-go. We need to get what we can from them, and then we are the masters of our own destiny. If we continue in this manner, I promise you, okay, so they go to the legislature and they get turned down, what do you think is going to happen at the next meeting, next meeting in August when they raise the amount that we have to pay? And he keeps saying he's not subsidizing any longer. So his goes away, ours goes way up. You understand what he's saying? So do we want this? Do we want them next year? I say no. I say we are the master of our own destiny. Let them go. Let them get out of here. Let us get the most that we can from this. And if we clean one canal a year to the best of our ability on our $40 an acre, then we've cleaned one canal that we didn't get done with them in charge. It's not fair. It's not the right way, but that's what they've decided, and we can't change it.
I have a question for the gentleman in the suit and tie. Are you an attorney?
Yes, sir, I am.
What's your Florida bar number?
I'd have to pull it out of my wallet.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was find it on my website. Happy to give you a card after the meeting.
Real slow.
Sure. 0115322.
Thank you very much. Where's your main offices? What city?
West Palm Beach.
West Palm Beach. Thank you. My next question is for Mr. Nelson.
And I'm sorry, your name is?
My name's Tom Lawson.
Okay.
Sir, if you go forward with this,
Mike is off.
Straight into it, it's like that.
if you go forward with this split, do you still get one vote per acre?
It depends on how you guys want to set up your district.
Us guys, when you're going forward without approval?
Well, I'm just saying, you'll be in charge of your district, and you can decide however you want to set it up on your district.
Let me ask you this. The contract that you're gonna do with this lobbyist,
With law firm.
according to, it says that, all parties have to agree. Who is the parties?
I'm just not sure I don't know what language you're referring to.
Have you read the letter?
I'm not sure what letter you're talking about.
You're gonna hire a firm
Yeah.
to go and, do this split.
Okay, retainer agreement for Lewis, Long, and Walker.
They sent you a letter.
Yeah, to engage them with a $50,000 fee.
They got certain conditions. One of those conditions was all parties have to agree. Who are the parties? Do you know?
Seth, I don't have the letter in front of me. I mean, do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, parties are Fellsmere Water Control District and Lewis, Long, and Walker. District has represented by its board, so,
By you,
by the board.
by the board.
By the board. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yes, so with his vote, you take everything you want.
That's right, so that we won't have that problem in the future.
Sure we will. Sure we will. Ain't no change.
It's a done deal.
Yeah, when I put land to it, I'll look at everybody, so I never will change.
Well, we won't be part of your district. You're gonna vote.
And your vote. Part of the district, which y'all control.
No. Hang on, turn it on.
Yeah, so that's still in control.
No, we're not.
It ain't gonna make a difference.
Okay, so our 18,000 acres are being removed from the district. If this bill goes
So
forward.
y'all don't have to pay, that's no reason you're moving it.
No, we're still gonna be paying, but we're gonna be paying into a different district.
Yeah, you'll be paying for yourself. Instead of the town.
Well, the town has nothing to do with this.
The water controls the town, who controls the water?
No, sorry, there's a city council that they meet over there, that controls the town. This is really not about the town of Fellsmere.
Okay, your water district, if you want to put it that way, your water district, you still gonna control. Okay,
No, we're not gonna control the Fellsmere Water Control
you're gonna
District.
take the tax dollars, okay, that would have been going here, and you're gonna affiliate it to your property. So you start that money, you're not taking money off of my land.
Do your motion.
Two of y'all.
We're gonna have to cut this off. We've got a 2-minute limit on discussion, so that you have your 2 minutes. And
Yeah, see,
you
cut
can
it
talk.
down, that's how you do it. Cut it down to somebody tells you something the truth.
Mark, you want to
You
go?
can't handle it.
Just a couple of questions on the letter from the attorney firm. It looks to me like it's contradicting itself, because on the first page it says it's a flat fee. Looks to me like it's contradicting itself, because on the first page it says it's a flat fee of $50,000. And then on the next page, it talks about billing for direct costs incurred and how the bills are going to be handled and stuff like that. And you've made a commitment, Greg, to pay the costs, so I guess it's up to you if that's what you want to do. But it just seems a little inconsistent. I'm also curious, who the heck is East Point Water and Sewer District? Because it shows up over and over in this letter. The secretary was tired of it? Okay. So it's actually definitely.
I think that was an earlier draft.
The updated version of what's on that.
Thank you.
I just have a comment. Like my water district taxes went up to $380, and that's at $38 an acre. I'm sorry, I don't know your name again.
Mark Matthews.
$50. Then my taxes, my board of district taxes, and then it goes from 380 to $500. That seems like an awful lot to me for this split that they pay per, not per acre, but per lot. So that sounds kind of like one side. And, you know, we really don't get the services anyway. I mean, I'm out on 87th Street. And I know that that ditch has really been cleaned out once. We got some spray, and we had like 7-foot palm trees come out of that this year that they dumped on the right of way that I used to take care of. We used to have one of the nicest roads around. And now, you know, I can't even cut the grass there now. There's piles of trees and muck on the side of the road that we're supposed to clean that up ourselves for $380 a year. That's crazy. That's all I have to say. I hope everybody's taxes are going to go up.
Yes, they are. You'll be in charge of your assessment and your level of service.
We're going to make a motion as we move forward with this, the Fellsmere Water Control District, retaining services of Lewis, Longman, and Walker for legislative action.
Can you also, I don't know if you're agreeing, can you add to that motion? Moving forward, can you attach that there would be a committee appointed? Mark he had some good suggestions about how a committee could form on a committee to work and get some of these done. This is not an efficient way to handle these major issues. There's not a lot of them, but they are major. I don't think this is an efficient way to do it. I think a committee would be better.
Just to fill in the conversation that Steve and I had, if there was interest in the committee, I know we talked about it last meeting, there wasn't interest at that time, but I was indicating that, you know, if you had the city of Fellsmere appoint the landowner, have the county appoint a landowner, and have the board appoint a landowner, you won't have the problems of the landowner saying, hey, you just stack this committee with people that are friendly to you, because now you're giving two of those seats a little closer. Two of those seats to different entities. And again, it would just be an advisory committee, it wouldn't be a decision-making committee. But it would hopefully draw a broader voice, not just the EFLOG group and all the EFLOG, but just hopefully draw a broader voice. The EFLOG would still be involved, participating in these committee meetings and things of that nature. If there's an interest.
Great idea.
I think you need to designate some people because the conversation is 12 different people, 12 different opinions, and that's not very helpful. So, and unfortunately, I can't meet with a meeting with Steve and discuss that because of the sunshine law. So it does put some restrictions on our ability to have what would probably be productive conversation. But per Mark's idea, I think that's a good idea. You know, you have a representative for EFLOG, the city, and who else did you say? Sorry.
County would
The
represent.
county, yeah.
And we can communicate through Mark. Steve can communicate, you can communicate through Mark. We just.
Actually, we can't.
We cannot.
No, it would be a violation for me to call Mark and say, call Steve and tell him that.
Okay, I wasn't sure. The committee that we're talking about is a step higher than us just meeting with the EFLOG. It becomes an official committee of the board. It would have to be advertised. It would be a sunshine committee. It would have minutes. And so in that regard, there could be opportunities and times when you could advertise where more than one supervisor could be there if they wanted to be part of that, more involved. But even if they didn't involve themselves directly, it was just the appointed representatives, it would still be a sunshine committee, still needing minutes, and still needing advertisements.
And in the meantime, you would be going forward with your legislative action. Yeah.
Well, we have a motion on the table, and I second the motion. And at this point, let's go ahead and call the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nay?
Hey,
Okay. We have 2-1. That answers your question, Karen. We're going forward.
What about the committee? Excuse me? What about the committee? Yeah, well, I'm certainly open to that committee, as described there.
How would we go about that? It's not part of this motion.
You know, this motion is, that's over, so that would have to be a second motion. Well, it's not, see, it's really, we can't tell the county what to do. I think that's, I don't know how you go about that. We just say we invite them. I think as a board, we can invite a representative of the county, the city, and
the representative of the county, the county would pick a landowner, the city would pick a landowner. That way, the board wouldn't be accused of just stacking a committee of friends. And the board would pick one.
Great idea, thank you. So what do we need to do to make a motion?
yeah.
I think an invite, it's an informal committee to your point, we're not trying to put it's not a fact finding, it's an advisory board, so I would say, maybe work to see if you can generate some interest in it and then bring it back to the board.
I guess I would charge Mark with that then to, put that together. Or
Thank you, Mark. Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
Any manager matters you want to address?
There were a couple of things I wanted just to real quick. I wanted to give an update on the bookkeeping. I'm going to be moving forward with a $4,000 contract.
A little bit larger.
We can't hear you. Thank you. I'm going to be moving forward with a $4,000 contract to enter last year's fiscal year expenses into the QuickBooks Online, which I've already purchased. It's a requirement of our auditing team. And I'll bring back in November if the board chooses to continue with this bookkeeper for entry during the current fiscal year, or if they want to train me and Steve as a backup to enter the data ourselves, that's an option too. That's above my threshold, so I'll come back in November. So that's more information in terms of the bookkeeping. The other item, and again, the proposals of the two that we received are in the packet for information purposes. Will be brought back to November for the second part of that. And then the other item was, we've got an issue with 99th Street. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
99th Street, by inspection, it's not possible for me to figure out what the problem is, but that ditch is at its top of bank. There's some low-lying houses near Community Road that are flooding their yards, cleaning out their houses. I feel the answer is going to be, there's probably dirt in the pipe somewhere. It's causing it not to drain. Maybe a filled pipe that you can't see from the top. Sometimes you don't get evidence of those. It's hard to actually come to a real answer when the water's so high, you can't see what's going on, but I did order a measuring stick that I can use to help figure out the depth and see where some high points are, particularly if there's dirt at the beginning of the culvert. But my whole point is this road is inaccessible because about a decade ago, the landowner of what used to be a fish farm reclaimed his land. The county who had been maintaining that road for longer than 7 years let them reclaim the road, and that road is no longer wide enough for our machine to go down and maintain that ditch. So I would need to do some tree grinding on the far side of the road just to get all the low-hanging limbs down. It will still be a tight fit. That's the best we can do because those trees fall on private property. I can trim the limbs up to the sky, but I can't cut the tree down because it's on private property. Obviously, that is an expense. It's a tree care expense. We have money in the budget for a tree care expense. We put $35,000 in there. I was hoping to put the full 35 into the 100,000 pot that we would use to maintain the ditches as a priority. This is a priority in my opinion. It's a ditch we can't access that's currently having problems. So I'm asking permission to move forward with some tree grinding on that street using the prior vendor, TN Property Solutions, that they're saying, we'll turn it into an hourly rate, not an hourly rate, a linear foot rate, because we have the data now, we can turn it into a linear foot rate. And get them to trim that up so we can get in there and clean that ditch and hopefully fix this problem. We might also need, if I find there's some pipe issues, we might also need, hopefully not a back truck, but we may need a back truck if we can't, get it out ourselves. And this is approaching an emergency situation, in my opinion, because that ditch, if you've driven on 99 by Community Road, it is at its top. And again, it seems to be a problem for a long distance, so I haven't found a solution. But grinding the trees is the first thing we need to do, get the machine in there to be able to take care of any high spots or blockages. And then continue investigation of the buildings is the second thing, which may require some action on those culverts. So that's really a heads up per se. I really don't want to have to wait till November to deal with this. I'd like to be able to put out the TN Property Solutions as quickly as I can so I can get in there and clean some ditches and try to get that thing going.
Would we use the whole 35,000?
No.
Okay.
Just by a linear foot, I think the numbers came out to be about 92 cents a linear foot. So just using $1 for rounding purposes, we're talking 500 feet of ditch here, maybe 1,000. I might be underestimating that, but again, we're talking $2,500 or less to get that right. And again, that same tree grinding would be part of the 100,000 if we defer it until that bid, because it's a high priority thing. So it's not like we're wasting money, we're just spending it early, is the way I look at it. Steve?
I just heard two different things, hourly rate, and then I heard the linear foot. I like linear foot, I don't like hourly rate. You can move slowly, and I think we just go by linear foot. We don't even know the extent of, exactly what it is. You could spend $15 and only do 10 feet. I would rather say you're going to get X for 10 feet.
That was a mistake. That was a mistake.
Okay. So linear foot.
Linear feet. I'm sorry. We also have an issue on 89th Street, and the gentleman's in the audience, I appreciate you coming tonight. I took a look at that today, and the concern the residents is expressing is that he never experienced the level of flooding he experiences today before that control structure was put in 89th Street ditch to speed the south regional lake of the city. So I committed to reach out to George Simon, who's the design engineer for that bypass structure, to make sure I understand how it operates, whether it has equal capacity as the ditch itself. I will say, though, that looking on both sides of that control structure, the water's at the same elevation. So it's not like it's a dam. It may be slowing it down, and that's what I need to look into to see if it's slowing it down.
If you wait till the water goes down, the space between the rocks and the top of the pipe is only this much. We have a big lake because we're using 89 Canal as a retention pond. So everybody who's east of that part is a retention. That canal is a retention. I saw a backhoe trying to open the other canal the one we walked together a couple years ago. There was no water flowing into that canal check. So they were working on opening that. So that's going to even overflow that canal even worse. The south side of 89 is fixing to become a ditch. Today, part of it, they went and put the Fellsmere people went and put cones around it because it was fixing to go into the ditch, the south side of that road. Because the whole thing, the flow of the canal, when the rain starts, so it's only this much between the top of the rocks and the top of the boulder. So yeah, the flow is still moving, but when we need 4 feet of flow, we only get 1.5 foot of flow.
So basically, I just need to understand that it's sized correctly, and if after reconsideration, we determine it has not been sized correctly, then it would be a requirement of the city to amend that control structure, because that is their permit, that's their project. And so I'll keep you posted on that, but that was a little bit longer solution than 99 because it requires some engineering.
You know, I'm a background on air conditioning, and we start our airflow this much piping, and as we take out lines, we reduce them. Well, looking at water drainage, it should be small and bigger and bigger and bigger as volume grows. And I don't see that. Reducing it to this much, we're choking that whole area. And there were supposed to be more people here that I told about coming, who are very unhappy with the situation because we're all going through the same thing. They just, unfortunately, a lot of our Spanish community, we're not here. But there's a lot of them like that. And you don't even know the Spanish community. So a lot of people that's not Spanish in that area, they're in the same way. Unfortunately, sometimes our self-employment situation doesn't, we don't have the freedom of the hours to say, oh, I get out of work at 4, we can come into the meetings every time. I can't, I'm gonna call out 24 hours.
So I would like to motion to authorize me to be able to get a tree grinder on 99 and to engage one of our engineers to investigate the United Street structure. However, with the expectation of a cost fallback from the city, because technically we're looking at this because it's a city issue. I will reach out to the city first to see if they want to be heads up or pay directly how they want to do it. But those are the two things I'd like to ask.
I'll make that motion to take care of 99.
I'll second that, and it sounds like maybe some of the folks in that area would talk to the city as well, might put some pressure where it's needed, so. Okay.
And as I mentioned, Mark, this morning, if the water is really needed for those ponds, why don't we have a controllable gate? So when we have a flood, they can open it and the water can just shoot straight. Something that somebody can control.
Yeah, good questions, but,
You know, instead of throwing in 2 dump trucks full of rocks, you choke it.
yeah. Yeah.
And Mark said, take, that's all the city.
It's a city project, so yes.
I would just leave it, just agree with it, you'll follow up with the city.
No,
So at this point, I'm not authorized to engage an engineer, I'm just authorized to reach out to the city and begin a conversation.
who's the engineer for the city?
They have multiple engineers respectively.
Do you have any rapport with them, or you can discuss it informally? See.
I think I was probably the person who selected them when I was city manager. So yeah, they probably remember my name.
All right, so if you make that call, then we'll have to follow up from there. But, do we start the motion? Do we, second, so do we need to take some action on this? Just authorize you to do that? I think that's what we're at right now. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so we have a motion, second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So you're authorized to do that, thank you, Mark.
And I don't think we actually approved the Carter survey work related to the legal aspects of the district split. So we go back to that item and approve the work authorization for legal, and for the audience who remain. This would be reimbursed by Fellsmere Joint District, to be part of the legal expenses for the district split.
So this is a bill for $6,800 that would be reimbursed to the district by Fellsmere Joint Venture because it's work related to drawing up a legal description for this split. Can I get a motion to approve? Okay, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Any further items? So I think we're ready to adjourn. Oh, Mark.
Just a couple of points of order. A couple of points of order. When I look at the agenda here, agenda item F just says annual salt lateral maintenance bid. That's not clear to me that there was any action taken on it. And so the contract for the mowing that you approved tonight, there's nothing in the documents for the meeting that shows that there was anything going to be done as far as action on that. So I think that that is not really correct. I'm not sure legal. And the same thing with this one that you just did with the district split. That's not shown as an action item. And there's nothing in here that suggests that there was going to be any action entered into to approve a contract. So I'm just asking that going forward, we're very clear about what these agenda items mean. And if there's something that's going to be acted on, that material should be included in the documents for the meeting.
Seth, do you have any thoughts on that? I mean, so we just give a longer description on items. Just, I think based on prior conversations, it was understood at the last meeting. It's certainly posted on the website, but we'll try to do better. Thank you. Okay, I think we're ready to.
I have one quick question for you guys. I'm really sorry. It's on what this gentleman just talked about on the retention ponds.
Yes.
Okay, so Mark, I did email you earlier about that retention pond that backs up against 87. I think that thing is going to overflow into our ditch on 87th if we're getting more rain. And I mean, if you look at, I did send you that picture. That's a concern. I don't know if that berm looks really low there. I don't know what that would do to our ditch, if it could cause actually intrusion into the 87th ditch. So I don't know if that's something that you could pick up when you talk to the city. I mean, I don't even know if there's a resolution to that. It's just a concern because I see how high that water is in those retention ponds. And there's maybe 2 feet, maybe, that it can rise, and it's in our ditch. I mean, it's going to make it all one big retention pond, and I think that's a little scary for us at 87, so that's all. Thank you.
Any last items? Okay, so move to adjourn?
Mr. Chairman.
We're adjourned. Thank you.